And the beast snaggers continue to hold up the great Waaagh when the tide is low. And with that being said, today and WAAAGHday Wednesday, we're going to talk about the rising and the falls of the great Waaagh and how the Orks are currently doing, who's winning, how they're winning, what they're going against, get the stats and the facts. And of course, what's going to be most exciting about today is that none of the lists we're going to go over are going to have tank busters or breaker boys. So be sure to be tuning in for that. And shout out to the great Waaagh. Whoa, this is live, like I said. So of course I'll be interacting with chat as we go right now. And then in between the stats and the facts and the players that we talk about, we'll open up and talk about some more chats. So let's start off with the stats and the facts. As always, get right into it. We're actually going to have a little bit more data because Meta Monday was able to give us a little bit more info as the Orks, how they've been doing for the last 11 to 12 weeks. But this is of last weekend, right? So as of last weekend, the Orks are sitting at a 38% win rate. We fall into the lowest faction in 40K currently. Of course, nobody's really including those agents guys. They're really more just like an allied force. And even Deathwatch can be perceived as somewhat like an allied source. But even then, we're still sitting here down at the bottom. Still doesn't keep me low. I'm still going to have a good time just like other Orks are. But it can definitely hurt a lot of us who like to play with other diverse units. And Orks are really trying to struggle to get a foothold in. But there are some guys breaking through periodically here and there. So we have Kult of Speed with actually one X and O, Section 1 this weekend. So we're going to be showing off that Kult of Speed, which will give you guys a chuckle. It's either going to make you really excited, really happy, like chuckling-wise and laugh, or you're going to be frustrated. Let's go. Then we have Dread Mob, which is arguably the second most popular Ork detachment. Chat, let me know what you think. What? That does sound... yeah, the Dread Mob is definitely the second most popular detachment for the Orks. But, sorry, guys, I got distracted by chat. Is the second most popular for the detachment for the Orks, but it's not really giving us all the performances, to be honest, even though you guys know I'm a big advocate for that. Then we have Tactical Brigade, which we will talk about its overall performance in the last 11 weeks. Oh, it's saying my mic. I checked mics right before. Hold on, guys, chat. Is the chat really not? How does this keep happening when I don't did a sound check? I did everything. This is not. Yeah, this is this mic that I'm using. Dang, guys, how'd that happen? Are you sure? Let me know, Mike, you guys. Maybe chat. Let me know if it's messing up right now. Using the wrong. What the? Again, the mic's messing up again. How is this happening? All right, chat. We're gonna fix this somehow, even though I did a mic check and this is the good one. Let's see. You got that looted mic? No, I don't got that looted mic. I have the proper mic. That's why I'm surprised. And the settings. How's it sound now, guys? I try to undo something. I was looking. I did a sound check before this and everything. That's what it takes me so long. So let me know how it's going now, guys, with the sound as I'm reading it as it goes. Then we got Warhorde. I'll go back over this if you guys. It says mic's working for me. Interesting. Let me know, guys, what it says now, because it sounds like the mic was giving me an issue. There's no other mics around here. Then we have Warhorde with 0% win events again, and then we're sitting at a 38% win rate. The mic is working, but it isn't your previous sound quality. Huh. What the heck is happening? Why does this keep happening even though I did a sound check before this? Hopefully this works now. The mic is the proper mic. It almost sounds like defaults to a different mic. No, this is the mic. I triple checked. What the heck? All this different stuff around there too. Does that sound better? going on here? Guys, I just ruined my stream. This is fantastic, guys. Not sure how I can fix that. Maybe I'll have to end the stream and just start a new one. Quality is mud. Yeah. Well, guys, I guess I'm gonna have to just end this. Hopefully I will destroy this and have to start over. Because this is the correct mic. Let's see. Is this mic better? No, that mic's horrible. Definitely not that one. Hello, hello. How's that one going? Is that mic going? I think we can't sleep. All right, guys, is that good? How's the sound now? How's the sound now? I did a little bit more sound variation here. You might have last one good, so we're good now, or it was good. I don't know how this is happening. How's it going now, guys? Are we good? We're good? Sound good now? Sound check 1, 2 again. Even I did a sound check. Not sure how this happens. Again, every time. So figure stuff. Better now. We're gonna run with this one. Shoot. I don't understand this, how this is happening. Sorry, guys, I destroyed the chat. Not that one. It was that one. Okay. This one. 1, 2. Sound check 1, 2. Yeah, the last sounds have been messed up. Yeah, the last few streams have been bad. Thanks, Tiger Mounts. I always appreciate your honesty and love. You've been around for a hot minute, so I know you're not speaking in a mean way. That mic sounds fixed. Okay, again, this is just not sure how that's happening, but thanks, Chad. We got out of the way so we can continue and carry on. So, intro bagged, destroyed. My looted mic has been fixed thanks to chat, and thanks to you guys for the feedback. So, let's start it back all over. Don't worry, I'm not that discouraged. So we have Orks at a 38% win rate, 1 X and 1 rating, but we have 2 lists we're going to cover this weekend. But like I said, the B Snaggers have been holding up the great Waaagh while the tide has been low. So Kult of Speed, 55% win, 1 X and 0. Dread Mobs, 42% win rate. But no, it's good that you brought it up. 42% win rate, no placings. Like I said, Dread Mob's been showing to be the second most popular detachment, even during our downtime. Not the most performative, I will say, but definitely the most popular, second most popular. Then we have Tactical Brigade, which is arguably the second most performing, but it's, you know, a small player base, like we covered about 2 streams ago. And then we have Warhorde, which is still generally the greater majority of the amount of players representation in the community, and that's dropped down to a 38% win rate. And then it shows Bully Boys because there was a player who went out. They just had a hard run. So overall, Orks 38% win rate. But we'll look at this chart is actually from the last 11 weeks data table, right? So it'll show the overall percent win rate and our X and 1 placings overall since. So I'll come down here to the Orky gets to the chats. Yeah, Bully Boy 0 because the persons that took him out had a hard time. It happens. Shout out to that git for taking him. Dang, Orks all the way at the bottom, you guys. So there we are. We have had a total of three, yes, a total of 3 event wins. Grand clap for us. And then 27%, 27 X and 1 placings with 308 players. So, like I was saying here, Tactical Brigade is arguably the best performing Ork detachment still. That small amounts of player base, like we said, there's only 19 that is showing right here, are 1 of the event wins and 3 of the X and 1 placings. Quite awesome. Last I looked at it, I think last week, it was either 8% or 12%. We have to look back at the stream again of the total Ork player base. I busted out on a chart so people could see. Is where Tactical Brigade is. So if you don't find yourself using it and appreciating it, don't feel pressured into using it. Me currently in its current state, I just don't have as much fun as I generally would want to.
and I feel like they just took away too much from it. So it's okay that you're not appreciating it, but this is what's doing well right now. And then we have the Hunt, which I actually do have a the Hunt list to actually show you guys that went X and 1. And as you can see, very rare that it even goes X and 1, and no event wins with a 47% win rate, but about the same amount of representation as the Tactical Brigade. Then we moved to Cult of Speed, that ever since it got the buff to the detachment rules, it's actually been performing like with actual results. We have one event win and some X and O wins. We've also seen them at team events being played out, but only a 44% win rate. I think that's because there's a learning curve. As someone who currently has been getting their teeth knocked out while running these big red, my red wall, right, trying to get faster. It's just I've been having hard games. I've taken losses, you know, in matchups that I usually would feel confident. There's learning curve to Cult of Speed, but I've definitely been having fun for where it's at. Then we have Dread Mob, like I said, very popular. Here's 40, and then you would see Warhorde is sitting at the most with 159 of those players. So 40 Dread Mob, so that's almost double the second most popular, even though Bully Boys is 25. But Dread Mob, good X and 1 placings, right? Like we've always said, fun for singles. A lot of the time people just run stompas and stuff. 43% win rate though on the Dread Mob. I think it has a lot of hidden, you know, potential and power, but with the point increases, it's just not that interesting. And it just feels a little bit pulled back right now. And you guys know I'm a big Dread Mob fan, so good chance I go back to playing it at some point. But currently where it's at, taking indirect nerfs because more DACA took nerfs was a bit painful, but I still think that people find a way to win games with like Stampa builds, for example, and such. And I think that's why it does so well. Then we go to the Green Tide. Oh, sorry, I jumped over Warhorde. Sorry, I don't know why I did that. So we have Warhorde with a 41% win rate. That's generally because that's like the beginner starting detachment, kind of like when you look at Space Marines. Space Marine win rates will look kind of bad, but then they'll have a good representation at top tables, at world teams events, and singles, whatever you want to say, and but still have like a kind of low tier, mid tier overall win rate. That's because the beginning players are coming out there and kind of saturating that win rate with the lower, lower wins. And I think that's what happened with Orc players too. Your beginner player usually playing the detachment, just Warhorde by default. As you can see, it has like 5 times the representation as some of the other detachments or more. So it's just it's fine that the Warhorde is struggling because of so many of the meta bullies. A lot of times people just look at Warhorde and they're like, well, that's a very strong detachment, and I like it. But when Orcs lose their identity as just being like cheap, in kind of like the game being able to be played out where I suffocate you and then you don't score enough. But now we have challenger cards into this play. Secondaries are more centralized, a little easier to get. You can find people playing a little bit more passive game and just picking up all their assets, which is another learning curve on top of the fact that you're already playing with inefficient tools for the most part. So Warhorde is overall struggling for the great Orc community. Green Tide, 41% win rate with only one X and 1 placing, and only 16 of those players. And it's funny because if you go to a lot of other content creators, or even when I was looking at Green Tide thinking, well, I still think they can do well in the new rule set, with all the changes and data slates, when they went up to 170 points for boys units, and then the war bosses went up, and pain boys went up, and then tank busters went up, and trucks went up, it just started making the detachment kind of feels bad. It also feels bad because you look at other horde style armies, or even other armies that are, I'll say it, power armor armies, right? You'll see sisters, and you'll see Black Templars, and you'll see space wolves, and you'll see just different berserkers. You'll just see all these different 20-man units of mobs of something with far more interesting rules than us, and it just kind of discourages the Green Tide mentality because you're already putting so much, and like we said again, learning curve on this detachment. Just doesn't have the representation, and it's just been slowly getting suffocated. Then we go to the Bullet Boys, which is a very, very popular overall, like, in the grand scheme of all our detachments, popular at heart detachment. Having 2 Waaghs, something we all want, but so restricted. 35% win rate. People constantly take it to events, constantly trying to get a result with it. People like the elite kind of more linear style of playing Orcs and just not having to worry about the wall timing so much. I could just call 2, feel a little more safe in that. But how the meta is unfolded now, people are just built and tuned for either soaking up the damage of bully boys or just straight up deleting the bully boys. -1 damage, -1 to hit exists everywhere. Then taking away our defensive capabilities and just constantly just burning through our 5-up feel no pains, or killing the other assets and just waiting for the wall to go away and then killing our mega knobs. So it's a detachment that struggles. It struggles all the time, and it has. Hopefully that gets a buff in this new data slate, which I have a feeling it will. Just will it be enough? And then we go to more DACA. More DACA, the catalyst of the fall of the Great Waaagh, some can say, right? When more DACA came into play, we were like, well, I don't know if we want that around. It's kind of ruining things. And ever since then, Orks have just been getting taken slightly down. More because more DACA pulled down so many other detachments because GW went a little finger happy on pressing the nuke button on Orks. So it is what it is. Like I said, I've been currently having fun with what Orks I can, but I definitely feel the pressure of the meta and the stats, the numbers do too. So great time to hobby, great time to get thematic, great time to get reps in and just kind of figure things out and use stuff you don't get to use sometimes. And some people just kind of put the Orks on the shelf and say, I'm going to practice something else, or I'm just going to get caught up in my hobbying. And if you're getting caught up in your hobbying, the first thing you should do is remember our paint competition. So your paint competition is due. Your entry is due 9/22. So that's coming right up for Killicans, 1 3-man Killican unit. Put that into our Discord or in the Facebook so you can get a set of course, today's sponsor, the Baron of Dice. So shout out to the Baron of Dice. They make high quality custom dice. If you enjoy our content, want to show some love, check out the Baron of Dice and the Wall Tactics custom dice. Support the channel by using our discount code in the description for 5% off, because nobody likes taxes. So let's get into the list of this weekend. We're going to start off with our boy Ivan Andres, with his Kult of the Speed. And I did get too stuck in, but sorry, I went over a super chat. Arcane Asylum, I get. He said, more teeth for the looted mic. Whoa, thank you, Arcane Asylum. I appreciate you, homie. And yes, I was doing sound check, guys. I promise. I'm working on my Big Mac skills. And it's been struggling. So sorry about that for ruining the streams a couple times here. As my other boy said, Tiger Melts. But thank you very much, Arcane, for supporting this chat. It means a lot in the stream. We want to keep it going and improving the channel and the content. So the love and the support means a lot. And thank you for always participating, homie. Very humbling. So get some war bosses in chat for Arcane. And war bosses in chat for our Get Ivan, another great wall, just like our boy Arcane. We have Kult of Speed with a 4-in-1 placing with a Snagga twist. Like I said when we started the stream, the Snaggas have been holding up the Great Waaagh. Even its downtime. Some can say an index hammer, some can say in its downtime. Shout out to the chat, like we're saying here, where everybody's saying Waaagh. And yes, Orks can win even now in this downtime. So he went 4-1. And let's take a look at his odd Kult of Speed list, and we'll talk about what I think about it and how this kind of ends up making sense, yet being a little hilarious. And you let me know in chat, you guys, if you've seen this, do you think this takes away from the flavor of Kult of Speed? Did it take too many points away, or are you accepting that, right? You guys let me know what you guys feel about that. So let's start off with the list. We have triple beast bosses. Death Killer Wartrike, get out of our way. And you know what? I'm not even necessarily against that. I think Death Killer Wartrikes are kind of lame. They really don't do much. They're gigantic bases. The automatic 6 is kind of nice, but I only like them in Warheart with the Feel No Pain. Not sure if my Kult of Speed lists have dropped all trikes. So I'm actually in favor of that. And in this case, Kult of Speed lacks one thing: a purpose for the wall, right? Is in your Kult of Speed list, there's usually like, well, I have my wall for the invuln, I guess, like in one more attack. It's not necessarily always that alluring. In this case, you get some utility from it, and you also give the ability to take down vehicles, the punching, the ability to go through terrain. The kill rig itself has more saturation toughness to let your other units move around the field and soak up some of the firepower. So I'm actually appreciating this. We got the 3 10-man Snaggas and then 3 kill rigs. That's what's going on in this Kult of Speed list. It has the trips 3s, right? 3 beast bosses, 3 Snaggas, and then kill rig, the kill rigs. So then we move on to what's actually Cult of Speed related, which would be everything else. We have 3 max unit of death copters. He went full 18 death copters. Whoa! If you've been around, you know that used to be a meme since Index Hammer. We'd be like, I'm gonna bust on my 18 death copters, and no one, took it seriously. And now we're out here. The time it's real. As for me, I'm running 12. Just a part of it is I'm too lazy to get the other 6 done, and I've been having a good run without it. A bit swingy, right? Let's just settle it down. We know it's a bit swingy, but the amount of ablative wounds, the ability to advance and charge and shoot, getting the OCN to objectives, even though the 6 attacks are kind of lame, if you end up pressing the 1 CP for Lance, you can end up just putting a good amount of wounds on enemies to finish them off after your swingy charges. After your swingy shooting. You can fire people to do mortals, which helps with that. And then you pop the 4-up invuln. So you have the kill rigs already on this field that's soaking up the straight, last cannons, anti-tanks, maybe some meltas. That way your def copters don't have to. And then your def copters can soak up different kind of damage with the 4-up invuln and kind of spread the toughness around. So if you didn't have the kill rigs on this list, def copters will now be the primary source of whatever everybody's most efficient anti-tank or full throttle damage unit would be. Now they have a diverse unit of targets. They have 6 pretty much tank or anti-vehicle targets that they can kind of consider. Am I going to go into one of these def copter bricks that one of them can pop a 4-up invuln, or am I going to just go for the kill rig? Typically, people go for kill rigs, which allows you to stage up and position everything else. So I get it. It's kind of making sense. It's fun. I do like running rockets because I do appreciate the blast in that way as well. Keep in mind, if you fly over someone, it does have to be a normal move, so you can't advance and do that. Right, but also keep in mind that it just simply means to be your unit to fly over someone, which means one piece of one of your 6 copters can fly over that unit, and they'll have to take 6 4-up mortal wounds. Then we have use 1 Gretchen unit. People ask me all the time, why would I bring a Gretchen unit instead of a boys unit and then just take you the objective? I say because a lot of the time people want to redeploy and get into your backfield. And for as an orc player, you cannot afford the enemy getting in your backfield. Period. I know some of you might be coming from other factions, and you might say, well, it's okay, I'll put an individual care, I'll sticky it, and then I'll run up the field and do stuff, and I'll let the enemy get behind me, and maybe I'll find a way to figure it out. Because maybe you have fast units, you have potential shooting, demon princes that can go back and forth and reclaim it. Maybe you have enough ability to throttle through the enemy and get to the other side, right? Unless you have the ability to get to the other side reliably, a lot of the times you're going to need to just keep the enemy right in front of you, have board control, and not let them get behind you. So a lot of the times I will just keep a grout unit in that case. Nothing wrong with also having sticky on your list. I'm just saying you can see he wasn't willing to cut any more points for a boys unit instead of sticky. So you also need the CP. A lot of the time you find your CP doing the damage. You don't need the damage for the 5, the sustain, or maybe a lance or throwing grenades, or just more reliable outcomes as a whole. Then you have 2 custom booster blasters. Kind of contentious, right? Because these guys kind of suck. It's kind of bonk, right? Their version of an auto cannon gun on top, very unreliable to even get a hit. But if it does, the enemy now takes -1 to hit for the shooting and the combat phase. So if you hit an enemy in both phases, it's -1 to hit. A lot of the time, this is kind of a bait, a little skirmish. I'm going to come out. If the enemy unit I know is going to respond to me, I can see it. I'm going to shoot it, make it -1 to hit, make it less reliable to get damage off on other things. And then people have to overinvest into me as my dumb little custom boosted blaster. And then you also have a lot of flamers on it. So if you do get into a conflict with a small infiltration unit, maybe up the field as well, you can close the distance on them, put a lot of flamer shots on them, charge them, they'll get decent stuff going on. But it's an interesting for 70 points, because for 70 points, you could also the Boomdock of Snazwagon argue that. Not necessarily Shock Jump Jagster, because that doesn't really do trading or damage in that case. It's more for just positioning and kind of move blocking and scoring. So in this case, you can see he just needs more buggies, kind of 70-point units. Then he pays for a Stormboy unit just for more mobility to get through terrain, and then 2 big bricks of war bikers. War bikers do feel kind of pretty decent in this detachment. They cannot get a 4-up invuln. They get a 5-up invuln. They have a reactive move. Their volume of shots sometimes can pop off and feel good with an additional AP. Their OC can feel decent as well. I personally find that I do see them getting picked up a little bit too much in certain metas. So if you don't find your war bikers are working, it could be that you're just in the perfect meta where people are running strength 10, -3 damage profiles, like on Forge Fiends, for example, and then your war bikers will feel less useful in some cases. But in other cases, having that many ablative wounds and bodies and moving up the field will take a lot of attention. So, because you also have the Coptus. So, even though it's not as many units as some other Cult of Speed units would be, it's quick. I'm going to probably deep strike 2 of these Copta units, 1 on the field, depending on the pressure style of army he's going into. Put the kill rigs on the line, put the war bikers on the line. Boom, your custom boosted blasters on the line. Let's get it, right? Everything's coming forward. Everything's redundant. Everything's going to be annoying in your face, and you just don't have enough stuff to take it all out. This is the kind of toughness that I was talking about in a recent video. It's like a 4 or 5 minute video where we're talking about orc toughness. This is a perfect example of that, where nothing itself is particularly tough, but you've spread everything out so much for almost equivalent costs that the enemy doesn't really get, a very like intense option set, right? You get 155 points for a rig, 160 for Coptas, 140 for the bikers. Who am I going to go for? So they have to take target priority, which can lead to mistakes. So let's take a look at his actual path to victory. He took a loss in his second round. So let's take a look at his first matchup. And let's go through this real quick because context matters. As chat's been saying, their chat's excited. Triple kill rigs. Hey, yo, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, triple kill rig. What a crazy get. And then Jay Hewen, shout out to Jay Hewen, a legend on the channel. He's I ran double kill rigs in Cult of Speed and it slaps. So it seems like chat's all about it, just all the kill rigs theme. You guys let me know in the comments during and after the video. Am I the only ones who missed that you're just gonna run kill rigs in your Cult of Speed? Because I generally wasn't doing that. Maybe I want more of the theme list. It seems like guys are totally fine with it. The piggier the better, huh? Piggier the better. So you guys let me know if that's fun. Let's look at his first matchup though, because we have to see what he was actually taking down. Starting off with the Leagues of Voltan. So we have a evaluator, we'll just call him that. An Iron Master, probably two of them. Then 2 Hearthgard Warriors. Of course, remember they can split apart to 2 little 5-man units. We have 1 Capricious Carrier. I don't know what the heck that's called. 3 Sagittars, 1 Thunderkin unit, 2 Hecaton Land Fortresses, and then 3 Pioneer units, followed by a Jaeger, another unit of 3, and then 3 more units of these Defenders. So a bit more units of Leagues of Voltan than we're expecting. But when Leagues of Voltan lose the Grudgeons against Orks, that matchup feels way better. Because then in this point, you can kind of overwhelm them with saturation of stuff. Because they still have to focus it down. Now in this place, now they start to look kind of like Adeptus Mechanicus or Astra Militarum, where they're going to fill up a firing lane with a bunch of units to try to get redundant activations so that they can make up for their unreliable outcomes to a certain degree. Not that it's bad, not that they can't. I'm not saying they're trash like that. I'm just saying that they work in that similar kind of way. They're not like Custo, I'm going to be reliable with my Palace Grav Tank, where I'm just going to re-roll hit on 2s. I'm not gonna be Space Marines or Chaos Space Marines with double dark pack and rerolls from Abaddon. There's difference here of what's just being reliably picked up. What I did notice though in our boys list and Ivan's list is no infiltrators. You let me know how you feel in the chat about that, because as I've been using my Cult of Speed, I can't imagine not using my commandos to kind of set the boundaries in the placement. And in this case, he didn't bring commandos. Right, so you guys let me know on that, because commandos usually matter a lot. In this case, though, it's very much simple. I ran you over with saturation of stuff, depending on, like, we don't know exactly the mission, but based off the score, right? I'm just going to 96-point win right there for his first game win. So that's my example from Leagues of Voltan, is you can overwhelm them. They will be able to kind of tear you down with 1 unit and such, but their style is, I'm going to set like walls up of Sagittars and Warriors, and if you can kind of blend through that and continue to hem me in my deployment, there's not much more I'm doing than just kind of shooting you and standing and then getting some charges off here and there. So also, I haven't played them as much in their new one, the new detachment as much. So let's move on to the second game where he actually did finally take his loss. So we look into the Emperor's children. Now, funny enough, recently, as of like 2 days ago, on Monday, I played against Emperor's Children, and I lost as well with my Cult of Speed, right? It's one of those things that if you don't have reps into, don't have knowledge of, and you go into this detachment, this faction, you can kind of make some mistakes. So I had a somewhat idea of what they could do, but when it started getting into a later game, I wasn't necessarily prepared for what was happening. So they have the Demon Prince, Lanesh with wings, 2 of them. This one is the one that gets up, so he has to take a leadership check, and then he can get back up with D6 wounds. 2 units of Lord Exultants, kind of like Chaos Lords, for example, where they can kind of supercharge themselves at will. People always talk about how tough a war boss and how awesome a war boss is, which I agree, and Warhorde is exceptional. And it's only on the Waaagh, though, that he's doing that. I do find it appealing that these guys essentially give themselves a Waaagh and get to pretty much equivalent attacks in volume as him. So that's the way you can kind of think about it, as they can activate themselves. I think it's 8 attacks or 7 attacks or something. So they can kind of throttle themselves. This Lord, whatever, shooting guy, and then Lucius the Eternal. So we have 2 units of Infractors, 2 units of Tormentors, 2 units of Rhinos, 2 Mauler Fiends, 3 units of Noise Marines. So the cool thing about the Mauler Fiends is if they choose to use them, now I'm not sure if I don't think he looks like he did in this case, because of how the detachment works, where they can choose to advance and charge or advance and shoot. There are stipulations, but I'm not going to break down their whole army like that. In short, the Mauler Fiend can run forward and shoot Meltas in that case, so they can choose to use a lot of Meltas, and their whole army can kind of like just set the presence and get up in your face. So in this case, Mauler Fiends could run up, pop kill rigs. The Noise Marines could shoot the units and disembark. You can move a Rhino and disembark the unit and shoot, obviously, to get better lines of sight. And then also just kind of get down the field and start charging in people's face. So not having infiltrators in this matchup would be a problem, because then it allows them to kind of close the distance on your Cult of Speed units. And typically with Cult of Speed, or even Orks themselves, you would say, well, I have enough assets to buy by the time you've chewed through me, you don't have enough stuff to have the volume of dice or activations to kill whatever's left over to continue my scoring potential. Emperor's Children, they have the ability to continue to rack up points, so they can choose sustain, lethal, re-rolling ones to hit, re-rolling ones to wound, and therefore those units that are at the end can be much more devastating and still be fast, right? And that's just something I personally didn't account for, and that kind of catch you off guard. So shout out to Ivan for that one. I get it. Knowledge of your opponents is a skill in itself as well, right? And sometimes that could be a thing where you play something that's new or that you haven't got reps into. So shout out to that one. Nothing wrong there. And I can see how they can kind of put you in back foot. Like I've always said with Orks, you don't appreciate when someone can put you on the back foot. It's just anti-Orky in that way. In chat saying they love seeing the kill rigs. But at the same time, they're saying they would like to see more buggies and stuff, right? And it's funny because people now saying they're sad with copta spams. Not calling you out, just saying that I've seen this a bit. But it used to be a joke for us in Index Hammer where people did want to see 18 coptas. Now we're at the point we can run them, and people are like, well, no, I don't like that no more. So it's interesting how that kind of works out. And you know what? To a degree, I'm with you, because I don't run 18, so I can't even say I necessarily love it. Just putting that out there for food for thought. And then we go to his third matchup where he makes a great comeback, where it's against Adeptus Sororitas. So we have 2 Canonists, 2 Demifugs, a Hospitaler, Junith, Morgan Val, and then 2 Palatine, followed by Sisters of Battle, 2 Emulators, 1 Rhino, 2 Castigators, 2 units of Sacrosaints, a unit of Paragon of Warsuits, Seraphim, and then Sister Novitiates. Again, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, so Sisters are one of those armies as well, as they're getting their miracle dice throughout the game. Later in the game, the more miracle dice they have, the more they can have reliable activations and stuff they want to do to you. They typically want to meet you in the mid-table and like bang it out. But in this case, as we said with Cult of Speed, because a lot of your stuff is already at kind of a move potential and saturation of toughness, what are these units necessarily going to go into? The Emulators are going to go pop your kill rigs, or the Castigators, not necessarily reliable. They don't have great AP. They can get some more assistance from the emulators. But then, like I said before, now you're just putting more activations into this one unit. So then your def coppers get in position. Your def coppers it's got a line of sight from one of these units, pop the 4-up invul, not that many die. And then you close the distance on them. As you pick up their small units, they lose their scoring potential. And in this case, this is one of those few exceptional cases where def coppers feel pretty solid in combat, right? They get 6 attacks each, strength 5, no AP, very frustrating. They used to have AP, GW, fix that. But like I said, 6 attacks each. You can get a nice boatload of punches, and then you can choose lance. So on the Waaagh, you can wound these little girls on 2s, and outside of the Waaagh, you can wound them on 2s with lance. So between the bikers and the Koptas and the rigs, you're gonna take up their shooting. They're gonna bring stuff forward to kind of make a wall to hold you back. You're gonna blow into that wall between your bikers, your Koptas, your Snaggas, whatever is still in position. Declare the wall if you need to for defensive purposes, knowing that you can break through, and then proceed to kind of continue to hum them in. So very typical way Orc players kind of overwhelm sisters. Then we got 91 points there, but you do need that kind of cool toughness saturation. And it's different how you build it on each list. So I love to see this different variation as its own take on Kult of Speed. Then we move into this 4th game, which I bet people were like taken off guard by how just fast this was, because stuff was running on fast. It was shooting, and then everything was disembarking, charging, getting stuck in. And I just think that's pretty cool. So we go into this 4th game where he got a 100-point win, a straight perfect game on Imperial Knights. So we go into 2 Crass Knight Lancers. Oh, 3, sorry. I said 2. It's 3 Knight Lancers. And then 4 Helvrans, followed by Clades Assassins and the Vindicator Assassin. So you can guess what happens when the Knight Lancers have to get close enough to kill rigs, have to get hit by Snaggas, have to get within sustain 2, cop the range, and like we talk about the mortal wound potential. So all in all, it just not gonna say exactly how this won because I don't know, but you can kind of presume with a 100-point win that when those knights got stuck in, he was able to pick a lot of stuff, and people catch it off guard. It does take CP, but you can take these units down around the game. It just takes a good amount of activations, but you got word times between the kill rigs. You got the kill rigs themselves. If they're not getting beat up, because now the kill rigs have to get charged since they're not getting shot. So that's a straight 100-point win. I like to see that. And to keep in mind, that Knight player would have already won at least 2 games with that list. So 100-point win. And then we go into his 3rd game. When we go to the Eldari. So all these units are susceptible. All these armies are susceptible to pressure of like stuff's tough, but not overly tough, where the enemy's going to get or valuable, where enemy's going to get a return on their investment for activating 3 to 4 different units on one 150-point unit, 160-point unit, 140-point unit. Right? They might line up a bunch of assets onto these targets, and then they're just kind of out of position or able to be focused down and kind of hemmed into an area. So that's what's happening with all these matchups on these big wins. And then the one matchup where the enemy could run into him, you can see that it kind of threw him for a loop, which is why it's important to go over these path to victories, right? So we go Eldari. So we have the Asuman, the Artark, Barahoth, Fugan, Janzar, Slilax, and Magan Ra. 2 Wave Serpents, 2 Dark Reapers, 1 Die Avenger, 1 Fire Dragon unit, 1 Howling Banshee, Striking Scorpions, a big brick of Swooping Hawks, and a unit of Warp Spiders. Again, similar, won't rehash it. You can see this playing out similarly as it did in the Sisters matchup, where he has a couple transports. They can actually get popped, so they have to be kind of cheeky with them. Anything that comes out is getting killed after, and even if it comes out, it's not getting a necessarily good trade, and everything else is positioning. So I love to see that. And when the screens come out, because it's cheap for our units to clear their screens, it means they're not even getting good trades, right? Throw out your Warp Spiders, throw out your Swooping Hawks. That's fine. It's Striking Scorpions. That's fine. A unit of bikers will pick those guys up, no problem. Unit of Dovecopters, pick those guys up, no problem. Fly over them, in fact, and then kill something behind them while the 4 bikers pick them up, no problem. So love to see that. Another big 90-point win there. So shout out to Ivan. Let's do his list one more time. He says, I read the chat. Triple beast bosses, triple Snaggas, triple kill rigs. Boom. The core of every orc list. There's Jack Harpster special. Shout out. Triple Death Coptas, 1 Gretchen, 2 custom booster blasters, 1 Stormboy, and then 2 big bricks of war bikers. Not as many buggies, but I do think there's just enough flavor of Cult of Speed on this list. And who doesn't love the way of the pig? So shout out to Ivan and his great wall and the Cult of Speed making another appearance. And like the chat saying, why are those leaders' names so silly for the Galdari? But shout out to the chat for being so supportive. And they said people really underestimate the Coptas. People really underestimate the Coptas output, and they are very, very swingy. All my CP is being throttled on a Def Copter bricks anyways. Yeah, that's why I only bring 2, because it's like, well, I'm usually spending CP. I don't typically use the lethal one, because the way I see it is, if I'm hitting you a lot of times, I'm not always, right? If it's 5s, then in that case, it would make more sense. But and if I'm wounding something on 3s, for example, I'm not going to pop the lethal. I'm going to find something else to do the use the CP on. But there's also a lot of mortal wounds that can come from these detachments as well. So shout out to Cult of Speed for finding its way. People just appreciate the pigs in this. So maybe I'll try pigs a couple times here and there in my Cult of Speed. But let's move on to our next pig rider lover. We have Will Paul, who was at the Captain City Bloodbath, who went 4-1 with the Hunt. And the Hunt made an appearance finally after all the love it's been getting. Now it doesn't, it says 4-1 because this is WTC scoring, so he had 2 draws. So maybe I'm being deceitful here. Should I say 3-2-1? Right? Should I just go back and just modify that real quick and just be like, hold on, guys. Let me make this, because I looked at it again. I was like, this is more like 3-2-1. So let's see. 3, 2, 1. Right? How I'll put that, guys. Let me but let's take a look at this list real quick, and then I'll modify that for the next one. We have Mazrog Scragbag as the Warlord, as it should rightfully be. We have a Beast Boss on Squigosaur with the Glory Hog. And then Beast Boss on Squigosaur with Shirley as a Squigoth for that -1 to wound. We have 1 unit of Gretchen, 1 unit of Commandos, 3 big bricks of the pigs. Okay. And then 3 kill rigs. Guys, I triple checked. This is exactly 2,000 points. Yes, this is exactly 2,000 points. This is the way of the pig. And who would have thought this would have actually been the most efficient way to play orcs? Like, I'm sorry, to hunt? Not sure. But again, we're getting the same lesson that I'm trying to instill on some of you kids who want more tough orc armies. The way you do that is you bring a lot of stuff that's similar in value, but then also in toughness. In toughness as well, where the enemy can't necessarily delegate its assets and resource readily, and then units that would have inefficient weapons, like let's say bolters, wouldn't go great into pigs. So it's pretty awesome to see, pretty outlandish as well. And of course, there was 2 draws on this list because it is a skew. So even though it's very fun and thematic, just know that you'll have to understand how to play this list to avoid losing these really close games or just ending up in a draw. Because on WT scoring, that's easier said than done, right? It's just like, well, if it's a good game, you end up in a draw, right? When I lost recently, it was 11-9 kind of differential. So there is differences in how they're playing and scoring. But nonetheless, let's take a look at the actual path to victory for how this actually went for our Git, Mr. Will Paul. So pulling this up, and I did move that, guys. So I'm going to bring it back in here. Going for Will Paul, let's take a look at his first game, which his first game was a loss. I will say that, right? And some people will say, well, then that means you could say, someone say it's like a submarine variation of, well, because he lost, it means his other games were tough. Well, ultimately, the whole meta is a Shark Tank right now, everywhere you're going anyway. So even making a comeback from that and using such a fun niche list still takes credit and still takes, you know, a good player to understand how to play this. And I fixed it, guys. That way I would be more honest. 3-2-1, right? 3 wins, 2 draws, 1 loss. Still awesome. So let's take a look at his first game, which was his loss. And I'll take a look at why that may be. So we have Space Marines Gladius, but with Space Wolves. So you have Arjak Rockfist, but Yorn the Fell-Handed. Very annoying, right? He makes you spend more CP. He has he can't focus him down easily, and he's a feel no pain. easier said than done to handle. Just having a dude just standing in the back lines like I just shoot last cans hit you all day. That would definitely suck for your pigs or your kill rigs. And then he also fights very efficiently and can take their damage quite well. We have Logan Grimnar, a Wolf Priest, followed by some Intercessors, 2 units of Ballistas Dreadnoughts. Now, I would say Ballistas Dreadnoughts in anything other than Ballistas. Ballistas. Anything other than Gladius are pretty lackluster. Pretty unreliable into Orks, you could even say. But when you can start stripping cover, give an additional AP, you can end up start putting some more wounds on units that shouldn't feel that way. And so ballistas kind of hold their feet, and then also they're +1 to wound on all their weapons, makes them even more efficient. We have Scout, and we don't kill them too efficiently. Like, yeah, your pigs could kill it, but for 140 points, it's like, well, that sucks. A lot of the time, people will use them as bait actually. So we have 1 Scout followed by 3 units of Thunderwolf Cavalry. So these guys typically were having a kind of like a pig rivalry back in the day, an Index Hammer, where it was really, well, who got off on who first. I would say that still somewhat holds true, but Thunderwolf Cavalry would have a toughness issue with the pigs, right? But the fact that they can kind of advance and charge, fall back and charge at will, might give them the ability to get the initiative, especially if you're using something like these Ballistas Dreadnoughts as a bait to draw on those pigs or something early. 1 unit of Wolf Takers, and then 2 units of these Wolfguard Terminators. Again, you're seeing more of this 2-up armor save. So all your pigs are having to deal with the 2-up armor save. And then you also have your kill rigs, which in melee all have a 1-up AP as well. 2 units of 10 Wolfen. So these guys are absolutely able to bring down the kill rigs. But against Squinkhog boys, there is the fact that they're winning them on 5s. Yet we understand that in this detachment in Gladius, you have Lance. So on the charge, you can give yourself an additional AP and +1 to wound. That means outside of the wall, when you're done with it, these Wolfen can come in, wounding on 4s, -3 AP, flat 3 damage in volume, even into the squigs, which at that point, now that's a problem, because now it's 3 damage straight to the feel no pain, right? And if you blame pig long enough, you know that sometimes you just make no feel no pains, and then the next time you make all of them. Even with that said, 9 to an 11, right? So that means he only lost by about like a 10-point loss here. Very close game, so very good job. So that's why I still wanted to show this list. Now let's take a look at his other matchups. Going into, I clicked the right thing, right? Boom, boom. Yes. So no, I clicked him again. His matchup over here. And I see you, chat. What's up, you guys? We have Imperial Knights. So we have 1 Atropos, a Castigator, and then 2 Lancers. What I will say is an Atropos only has 24-inch range gets, so you can get stuck in with that. Then we have 1 Helvinger, and then 1 Warglaive, 1 Calades Assassin, and then a Sisters of Battle. No transport for them. So not as efficient as we want them to see. But as you can imagine, when you have Glory Hog, and then you have more pigs and rigs running up the field at all these guys, you're going to hold them in their deployment zone and have all the tools to really chew them out. But you're likely calling that wall turn 1 to kind of live off that invuln while everything gets in position and doesn't end up getting killed itself. Or you can just say, I'm going to not call the wall yet because my Glory Hogs are going to go in. Everything's going to focus on my Glory Hogs anyways because they're such a gigantic unit right in the middle of the field. And then I'm going to follow up with the proper wall, make contact with 2 of my squig bricks, and then my kill rigs, which is the more efficient way you have to deal with knights, right? So if you can bait them into really focusing down just 1 pig unit and then following up with a nice haymaker, you'll get a nice fat 20-point dub right there. Then we move into his 3rd game, which was his draw here. We go into the Tau Empire. So this seems like it was a Kroot Kroot hunting pack, right? Kroot hunting pack right here. Never played against Kroot hunting pack. So we have 2 units of Kroot Flesh Sharpener, 1 Kroot Lone Spear, 2 Kroot Lone Spears, and then some more War Sharp, just Kroot guys, right? We have 1 20-man unit of Carnivores, which I know they can come back to life, regen the unit. 2, 3, 4 units of Kroot Carnivores, and then another 20-man unit. Are they like different in war gear? Doesn't look like it. All right, so I don't know why I just separated them like that. Then we have 2 big units of stalkers, followed by 3 big units of crew rampagers, followed by 3 units of the crew riders, and then 2 5-man units of crew hounds. So this is all crewed up. I definitely appreciate that. Very fun to see, and you can see how well that is just a straight, we're going to roll this out, because yes, the pigs do have a bunch of punches, and yes, they do have respectable OC, but at the end of the day, this is somewhat of a horde slash mixed wound army that has its own potential and synergy that we're not familiar with. So I'm sure that the ability to fall back and charge would be awesome for the pigs in this matchup, so that they don't have to stay just stuck in with any of these tar pit style of units. But easier than said than done. And like I said, I haven't played that matchup, so I can't really, not sure how that really fully went, right? Even when I looked into it, I was like, I guess you just got a lot of OC, right? A lot of OC, some dudes that can kind of punch, board control, right? And that's just how it goes. Hopefully, who knows who went first. That could be that the pig orcs didn't go first, and the crews were able to just create all that board space, and the pigs had to chew their way through this army. Then we go into his fourth matchup. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, guys. Sometimes I'll be looking at the screen, losing chat. We have the Ashta Militarum. So 2 Rogel Dorn commanders, 1 Tech Priest, 1 Chimera, 2 Toroks, 2 Hellhounds, 2 Kazarkins, 2 Vanquisher, 1 Ogren Squad. That's cool. 1 Rogel Dorn, and then 2 Scout Sentinels. You see a lot of these lists running around right now, where guard players are just going really Dorn heavy and then a couple transports. So if you understand that I'm going to kill everything other than the Dorns, unless the Dorns are like right front loaded to me when my army's at full potential, and then I'll just take them. Or if you can just pick it as your hunt target, of course, right? Because now you actually get some AP, you can actually chew through this get. A lot of the times it's just better said that you eat everything else. And then that way the Dorn can't play the game by himself. Easier said than done, of course, but he got a big, nice 15-point win there on that one. And there's not too much creativity to how this could go, because he has Kazarkin. He doesn't have like a Catachans for infiltration or anything like that. So there's a good chance that Orc player just won up and pressured him right away and started just getting stuck in. Hopefully he went first. If he went first, maybe the score would be bigger, right? Then this second to last game, we get a 19-point win here, where he goes into another Knights army, but this is a Chaos Knight army. So who would have thought that the pigs and the hunt finally did their job into some army? You just had to bring 18 and 3 kill rigs. That's all you need. Just lean completely into it. Don't bring any battle line snaggers. And then that's the way to go, right? Big stuff, big toys for other big toys. So we get 1 Knight Atchapost, a Lancer, 2 Abominants, a Knight Rampager, a Beast of Nurgle, 2 3-man units of Nurglings, and then a 6-man unit of Nurglings. So, hey, you want that infiltration, because these dudes will run up and start boxing you in while these Knights take a position, chuck themselves down the field, and get stuck into you. So I'm going to assume the Orc player win first, 19-point dub right there with Glory Hogs, and then just able to just really crump it into them, right? When you put the kill rigs into a hunt target and you're able to give them -2 AP, now they start cooking. Now they're looking like they can actually act like little monsters on the field sometimes. Or they can just act as big. I'm going to get in the way of the Knights, and then the pigs are going to be able to get off first on them. So pretty cool to see. Then we go into, and you're going to appreciate having those word towers too. Now we're going to go into his last matchup, where he had his final draw. So he had good matchups, guys. He took down multiple Knights. He took down Astro Militarum. He went toe-to-toe with Tau. So like I said, even though he lost his first matchup, he did fight some respectable armies here. Then we go into Tau. Not Tau, sorry. I'm just going Tau. Drakari. So another faction where you probably don't have reps, not too familiar with, and then they start doing these little shenanigan T3 model army stuff. So we get an Archon, 2 Beastmasters. So if you don't know what a Beastmaster is, it's a unit with like a bunch of blade of wounds. So it has little beasts, and then little flyer dudes, and then infantry dudes. They have different wounds. And so they'll take different saves for different weapon profiles, and then they can scout and then move 10. So it just acts as a jail essentially. Then you have Urine Rakarth. We have a Cabalite warrior unit, some Venoms, 2 Chronos, 2 Mandrakes. So these are 2 little 5-man infiltrator units. And then he brought 2 Razor Wing jet fighters, 2 Scourges, and then 2 Void Raven bombers, and a Solitaire. So as his title, it says he has planes. So in this case, you're not really interacting with the planes, but when they've practiced with the planes and Eldar planes get more mobility, in that case, well, they can kind of get you in some tight predicaments and kind of pick your orc army apart at that way and do the inverse of what you like to do to other armies, which is picking around their scoring units, so they only have to play the game with their elite bricks. In this case, they can kind of choose to do that to you because of those flyers. So great job to Paul Will with his Mazrong, 2 beast bosses with Glory Hogs and Squigoth, 1 Gretchen, 1 Commando, 3 big bricks of Squigs, and then 3 kill rigs. So shout out for them kids and the great war for the hunt making its way through the Titanic walkers. So with that being said, let's look at the chat, guys. Yes, everybody's pretty excited. Glad to see Orks still getting some love. Again, thank you for Arcane for the super chat. Love, even though I messed up somehow, even after doing sound check, after checking, doing all, checking my T's twice or whatever the Christmas Carol goes. So sorry about that, guys. I will definitely look into that more. But as I said, Orks are still finding a way, and I do have hope and have heard a little bit more rumors that Bully Boys specifically and Bully Boys related units I know are getting some sort of decreases. Can't say what, can't say how. No, nothing like that. Just know that it does seem like those are the most consistent rumors we're hearing, and possibly even pigs. So if that's the case, where pigs or big characters start coming down and Bully Boys, might be another boost for the hunts, might be a boost for bullies. And if we do lose points in other rumored units like tactical brigade related units, then that can help tactical brigade to push through as you bring down those kind of big annoying meta bully armies. So I actually have good hope for the future. And while the Orks have been down, I've been hobbying my butt off, getting my Kult of Speed nice and ready. And guess what? Playing Kult of Speed has been the most fun I've had in a long time, playing with my Orks, trying to figure them out and going back to the I am trash and have a lot of units. So in this way, guys, I'm sure you guys can relate, and I'll talk about this more in the future, but when Orks are down and out, there are other ways to still appreciate and enjoy the hobby, and that's what we're hoping to do here with this channel and help you guys get through those hard times so you don't just get rid of your faction then randomly buy it again 3 years later like a lot of your fellow hobbyists probably deal with. So with that being said, let's see what the chat says one more time. Guys, it's helping with the thanks to the gifts for helping me with the audio that I was messing up earlier. So Jank, we got Jank up here. We got America. What's up, America? Awesome. Thanks for the of course, Arcane for the pitchforks, as we said earlier. And then shout out to the other guys that were here with Evan, Random Logic, Charlie's, all you guys. Shout out to all you guys in chat and the super chatters and the channel members, because if you're not a channel member, now you can actually see the after action report. If you don't know what that is, it's just a summarized bat rep, right? Done, and in the pictures will get improved. I'll improve on all these things. So tell me what you guys want to see or what angles you want to see and such. So if you definitely want to see more just straight up Orks playing games and see me how I win games and even how I lose games, go over there and talk smack to me so we can get those more stuck in. And then we also have, for the other gets that were here now, as we were talking about the Beasley Squig said this list has more pigs than famous Daves. Whoa, that's what I like to see. And I think Scoptus are solid support as we're seeing here. Not sure how many I put them in other detachments. And then let's see see that list. We'll see those pigs go up another 50 points. Yeah, I shouldn't have shown that. Well, hey, at this point, it's too late, right? We think the data slate might be around the corner, hopefully next week. And we see here, it said, I believe GW would push their newer Designics more money. So they will push, of course, as a company, push a little bit newer, higher products. But if you didn't know, like when the Titanic Walkers came out, like Mork and Gork, they weren't good and they were new. And when the buggies first came out, they weren't good. They took a while to get good. So, GW has its ebbs and flows. I think personally, like I put out a video for before, I think they don't know how to write orc rules anymore, and they gave our rules away, and then they scrounge up whatever's left over and try to give it to us and think we'll still be happy. So there's a lot to be said there, but I already said what I said in other videos. But thanks for the love. With that being said, we're definitely going to talk about the wish list for 11th edition and orc models we're missing and we hope to get. We did community streams where I kind of talked about a little bit for painting. Those like an hour long if you want to see those. But we'll be sure to put more of those general chats and conversations out. Seems like the community really likes that. So thanks you guys for being here. Of course, leave me your comments on what other stuff you like to see because we're listening and the great Waaagh is growing. We're getting close to that 7K. So leave a like because I'm sure my audio mistakes and blunders will totally ruin the analytics for this video. So one thing to keep in mind is don't cross our wall because we'll knock your teeth out and mess up the audio.